Right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to the Zoom meeting. So we'll be proceeding with the second session of the Ibadah camp. The topic of the second session is men as vicegerent. Moving right along, it's now a pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Ustaz Ikmal Hakimi bin Muhammad Helmi. Before that, let me just touch the tip of the iceberg from Ustaz Ikmal's background. He's a former student of IUM and currently a lecturer in Quranic Language Department in IUM Kambang. If you have any questions regarding the talk, feel free to write it in the comment section, as I know everyone is excited to listen to his talk. So, brothers and sisters, let's invite Ustaz Ikmal Hakimi. Fatafadal mashkura.
Thank you, Brother Fahmi, moderator for today's session. Let give me few seconds for me to share the screen first. So everyone can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Thank you once again to the Master of Ceremony for today's session, which is Brother Ahmad Fahmi. All students of this Ibadah Camp 2.4, I think this Ibadah Camp is for human sciences and economic students, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so for today, I'm going to talk about or to share about this topic, which is men as vicegerent, which will be from 11 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. So it's going to be an hour and a half session. So during this period of time, I'm not aiming to talk to only me who will be talking throughout this session, but I would love if anybody can join me throughout this session. So it's going to be a two-way session kind of things. It is not something that you can just sit here and listen to everything that I'm going to talk about. You can you can interrupt me when I'm talking about when I'm sharing about something. You can ask me question directly. You don't have to keep the questions till the end of the session. So you can interrupt me anytime throughout this session. So let us begin with this thing. So my name is Muhammad Ikmal Hakimi. As per mentioned by Brother Fahmi, yes, I'm an alumni of International Islamic University Malaysia. I was once a student in Bachelor of Arabic Language and Bachelor of Human Sciences, specializing in Arabic Language and Literature. So now currently I'm a lecturer in this Center for Foundation Studies in Department of Quranic Language. I don't think that I have my students here because this semester I'm not teaching any human sciences students or any economic students. So I don't think that I have my students here. So let us proceed with this thing, man as vicegerent. So what are we going to have today is all about this topic. And it is not something that is very, what can we call that? It is not something that is very academic. It is going to be something I'm trying to share with you on this topic, and I'm trying to relate this topic with your life as a student here in CFS. So what are we going to have throughout this 1 hour and 30-minute sessions are the following. So we'll start with the introduction first. And next one will be the vicegerency. So we are going to see or to look or to discuss about what is vicegerent and what can we understand about vicegerency or the vicegerent itself. And then we will proceed with the next one, which is the application. And the last one will be the conclusion. So let us start with the first one, introduction, before I proceed with the next slide. when you think or when you listen to this word, vicegerent, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Can anybody share with me? The very first thing that comes to your mind when you listen to or when you hear to this word vicegerent, or this is the first time this word come up, or you come up with this word, vicegerent.
It's time.
First time.
Time.
Or can we change it into something else? This word is also known as Khalifa. Have you ever heard the word Khalifa before this? I think yes.
Yes.
So when you listen to something, or when this word comes to your mind, or when you listen to this word, what is the very first thing that comes to your mind? Yes, anybody?
Responsibility.
Responsibility. What else?
A leader.
A leader. What else? The responsibility and a leader. So when we are talking about vicegerents or vicegerents, yes, we are going to talk about a leader, or we are going to talk about responsibility. But the word Khalifa itself is being used in many ways, or in with many what do we call that? It reflects many things. So let us start with the introduction first. So this is the verse of Al-Quran. وَأَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً قَالُوا أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءَ وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ قَالَ إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. So in this verse of Al-Quran, who knows which verse? This verse is Al-Quran in which surah in Al-Quran?
Al-Baqarah.
Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number
30, I think.
30. Are you sure?
Around.
Around there. Yes, it is verse number 30. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. So the most important thing in this verse of Al-Quran is the word Khalifa. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in this verse of Al-Quran that He has created something, or He has created a creature to be the Khalifa in this world. So who is this Khalifa in this world that is meant by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse of Al-Quran? When Allah mentioned Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa, Allah refers, this word Khalifa refers to which creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? As we know that Allah has created many creatures. We have the Malaika, we have the world itself is created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what everything that we have in this world is created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, the trees, everything that we have here, the trees, the seas, the animals, and everything. But in this verse of Al-Quran, in this verse 30 of Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah mentioned, إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. The word Khalifa here in this verse refers to which creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Human. So why is it human? Why Allah created humans as the Khalifa of Allah, as the Khalifa in this world, and why is it us, or why have us been obligated to be the Khalifa in this world? These is the questions that we are going to discuss about throughout this session. So this is the first thing that I want to share with you. So when we are talking about Khalifa, you have to remember this verse of the Quran, verse 30, Surah Al-Baqarah. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. So when we are talking about Khalifa, you have to bear in mind that it is a responsibility. It is a responsibility that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us from the very beginning. Because Allah himself mentioned in this verse that he has created a creature in this world to be the Khalifa. So when we are talking about Khalifa, the first thing that we have to know is that what is meant by Khalifa. Am I right? So it goes the same when you are learning something new. For example, we have human sciences students here. So for example, when you are learning something like what can we see about something so for example, psychology. So when we are talking about psychology, the first thing is we have to know what is the definition of psychology. Am I right?
Yes.
So here, the word Khalifa, we have to discuss first what is meant by Khalifa. So what is vicegerent or what is Khalifa from your point of view?
Leader.
Leader. Jaga dia yang cakap responsibility. What else?
Successor.
Yes. Sometimes when we are talking about Khalifa, there is a group of people who will think about those Khalifa during Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's or during the Sahabat, which are Khalifa Abu Bakar, Khalifa Umar, Khalifa Uthman and Ali, as well as the Khalifa that follows them after that. That is one of the meaning of Khalifa, but we are not going to discuss on those Khalifa that we have previously. So what we are going to discuss on today is Khalifa, the word Khalifa that is mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah verse number 30, which is each of us here in this world is a Khalifa in this world. So this is what we are going to discuss on, or what we are going to discuss about during this 1 hour and 30 minute sessions. So when we are talking about Khalifa, saya punya WhatsApp mengganggu. So when we are talking about Khalifa, what can we understand from the word Khalifa is that a vicegerent or a Khalifa is a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes. So Khalifa, it is not only for the leaders. Yes. Most of the time when we come up with this word Khalifa, we refers to the leaders. But in this moment, in this session, we are not going to discuss about the Khalifa, which refers to the leaders. We are going to discuss about this word Khalifa, which refers to the leader, but each of us is the leaders that we are going to be, each of us will be the leaders that we are going to discuss about. So we are the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are obligated to steward or to execute what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mentioned in the Quran. Execute the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because of that, we can see in the Quran what is the purpose of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us in this world. Who knows? Who can answer my question? What is the purpose of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, humankind, human being in this world?
To worship him.
To worship him. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. To worship him, to perform ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So not only to worship him, that is the first or the most fundamental things or the most fundamental purpose that we as a human being is created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world as a servant of Allah. Apart from that, we have another obligations, which is to be the Khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is what we are going to discuss, the vicegerent, which is the Khalifa. As a servant of Allah, what can we do to execute his laws? What can we do for the purpose or for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's religion? So this is the roles of the Khalifa, the roles of us as the human being, as the believers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So who are the, as we have mentioned earlier that we have Khalifa in this previously. So who are they previously? I think I've mentioned these things. So you can just keep here. But apart from those four Khalifa that we know or we have learned about, or we have been taught about, who do you think the Khalifa or the prominent scholars that we can, or the person that we can say that they are the Khalifa, or they reflect the purpose or the roles of the Khalifa in this world? Yes, anybody? But from those four, which I think everyone know that we have the Khalifa before this or previously, which we have the Khalifa Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali. Apart from those leaders, who else can we mention here as the Khalifa? Why? Because he or she, or because they reflect the roles of Khalifa, that the roles of Khalifa in this world. Yes, who else? Siapa? Selain daripada 4 orang. I think when we are talking about Khalifa, when we are talking about this word vicegerent, we don't have to only think about the leaders as the Khalifa. We can think about any prominent scholars who can give us benefits, or who can benefit the Ummah as a Khalifa as well. For example, we have those scholars or those prominent scholars during the golden age of Islam, which really what we call that, really give benefits to the world as a whole. So when we are talking about these things, you have to bear in mind that Khalifa is not something that only relatable with leaders leading the world. I mean, not leading the world, leading the country or something like that. It is something that we can understand that by being a Khalifa, you can benefit others, you can lead the world in a certain or in a certain field that you are specializing in. For example, we have the very first person to invent the aeroplane. We have the very first person to invent something that is very useful in this world and up until now. For example, we have Al-Zahrawi. What did Al-Zahrawi invent during previous years? Can anybody share with me? What did Al-Zahrawi has invented or invent during the previous years? And it is still useful, it is still being used up until now.
Tools for surgery.
Yes. So can we say that those scholars who invented something that can be useful, that can be very useful to the world as a Khalifa? Do you think so?
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Why do you think so?
It helps us to live in a better way.
Yes. When we are talking about these things, please don't only think about Khalifa or something, or the vicegerent is those who leads the country, or the leaders. You have to bear in mind, or you have to remember that Khalifa, it is not only those persons who lead the country, not only those who are actively involved in political activities or something like that. You have to remember that Khalifa, it is not only those things. Being a Khalifa means that you can be somebody that can benefit others, that can help others to be that can help others, or help people to have a better what do we call that, a better situation in this world. So those scholars, or prominent scholars during the golden age of Islam, I think we can see that they are the Khalifa, or maybe we can rephrase that word. They reflect the roles of the Khalifa, which is to create something that will help others to have a better life, to have a better situation in this world. So we have already discussed about what is Khalifa, or what is vicegerent. And we also have discussed about who are the Khalifa in these previous years or previously, and how can we, as well as who are the person that can we say that they are the Khalifa. It is not only the leaders, it is not only those who actively involved in political activities, it is not only those who lead the country or something like that. It can be anybody, it can be you, it can be anybody in this world, and as long as he or she can benefit the world, he or she can come up with something that can make us, or the people of this world, to have a better life, or to have a better situation in this world. So we have discussed all those things. So now let us proceed with something else. So we have already discussed what is vicegerent, who are the Khalifa previously. The questions now is that when Allah mentioned in verse 30 in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً, and Allah has created us to be the Khalifa. The question is, why us? Has anybody?
Maybe because we are more advanced than perhaps animals or other living beings. So we are the most qualified.
Okay. Any other reason?
We are the only ones given akal by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes. So when we are talking about the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us as human being and has created us to be the Khalifa in this world, we have to remember this one verse of Al-Quran, which is from Surah At-Tin. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. أحسن تقويم بمعنى pula. Tiba keluar. Means that we are the best creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Allah mentioned the best creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why do you think that Allah mentioned this phrase, best creature? How best are we in this world compared to those creatures that Allah has created? Yes. Or maybe I can rephrase my question. If we say that, we mention that we are the best creatures, have you ever thought of something like the man itself or the human themselves who are created as the best creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they themselves make something that make something that is not something that Allah has prohibited. Something that Allah has prohibited. Why?
I feel like it's the same thing when you say that there are wars happening in the world, and why are we creating something that is destroying us, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I think we are the best of the creations, because even though we are capable to destroy ourselves, but we are capable to advance ourselves too. So we have the two parts, the best of the world, you know. So we are capable to make ourselves grow and advance.
Meaning that I think, from my point of view, the best creatures here means that what makes us different from the other creatures is that we have the akal. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
Having said that, there are people or there are humans who destroy something or who create something that might destroy something. It is not. It is not. It doesn't really reflect that we are not the best creature of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. It is how we use our akal. So this is why Allah has created us as the Khalifa in this world, as the Khalifa in this world. So yes, Allah also mentioned that we are the best creatures, which is لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Allah as well mentioned that we, the human being, the best creature of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, also destroy something that Allah has created in this world. Where we can see the verse of Al-Quran, which is ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس. What does this verse of Al-Quran means? There are something, or ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر, we can see that there are something has been destroyed by the hands of the humans in this world, which is on land as well as on upper at the sea. ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس. Though we are the best creatures of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala as well mentioned that we ourselves we have destroyed something that Allah has created to us in this world, both inland and at the sea. So this is why we have to bear in our to remind ourselves that we are the Khalifa of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in this world, so that we can leave all these prohibitions of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and we can take good care of what has Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala given to us in this world. So this is the first reason why we have been chosen by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to be the Khalifa, or to be the vicegerent of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in this world. The next one, why us? Apart from being the best creatures of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, apart from being one of the best of the creatures that Allah has given us something that make us different from the other creatures. For example, when we differentiate ourselves with something like animals, we can see that animals cannot do anything, or it is not that cannot do anything. At the very least, we have something that animals don't have. So apart from that reason, apart from being the best creatures, why does Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala created us to be the Khalifa of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in this world? Yes.
Because we have the best guidance given by Allah, which is Al-Quran.
The best guidance given by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, which is Al-Quran. But though we have the best guidance, what is the most fundamental things that we have that other creatures doesn't have?
Is it that you can choose to obey Allah or to defy Allah?
What?
We are given. Is it because we are given the choice to choose to follow what Allah has prescribed for us, or we can deny what Allah has prescribed for us.
So how can we choose to follow or not to follow? What has Allah given us to make that decision?
Akal.
Yes, akal. Satu kataan je sebenarnya. So why us? Because the verse number 30 in Surah Al-Baqarah was qala rabbuka lil malaikati inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. Verse number 31, the verse after that, Allah mentioned وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. Meaning that why us? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the knowledge or has given us the aqal to think on everything that we have in this world, either to do something that is bad or to do something that is good for ourselves, either to benefit others or not to benefit others, either to follow what he commands or either to do what he has prohibited. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us to be the Khalifa in this world, because we have been given the aqal to think of something that is either something is good for us or either it is bad for us to do or bad for us to commit. So when we mention about Khalifa, yes, Allah has given us aqal, but we have to remind ourselves that this aqal sometimes it is not something that give us or that benefits us at all the times. Why? Because sometimes, though we have the aqal, we can see that we wrongly use these things to make this to make up a decision or something like that. So that is why Allah mentioned here, allama. The word allama here is to teach something or to teach somebody. So why Allah has created us? When Allah created us to be the Khalifa, Allah doesn't merely leave us to do this thing without teaching us the things that we have to do. So that is why from the very beginning, I've mentioned earlier that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us to be the Khalifa. First reason is we are the best creatures. Second reason is Allah will always help us to teach, or Allah will always teach us to do something. Allah teaches us to do something or to execute His laws. How? We can see that Allah has given, we have the Quran as the guidance. We have the prophets as the guidance as well. So because of that, we will be enlightened about something that we are going to do in this world. What are the obligations of a person or a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and what are the obligations of the believers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world. So this is what we meant, what is meant by this verse, meaning that although we are the best creatures, but it doesn't mean that we know everything in this world. So that is why when we think that we are the best person or the best creature in this world, for example, when we think that we are the best student in this university or in the school or maybe in the section, you have to remember one verse of Al-Quran, which is in Surah Al-Kahfi. Which verse of Al-Quran in Surah Al-Kahfi that I'm referring to? Who knows? Anybody? When we are talking about the knowledge, when we are talking about being a clever person, there is this one verse of Al-Quran that we have to bear in mind or that we have to remind. Oh, Sorry, I forgot to plug in. Share screen once again. Kenapa saya tak boleh share screen? Host, tolong. Host disable participant screen sharing. Sorry. Okay. Thank you. So where are we?
Verse in
But-
Surah Al-Kahfi.
Verse in Surah Al-Kahfi. So which verse in Surah Al-Kahfi I'm referring to? When we are talking about knowledge, when we are talking about a clever person or something like that.
Is it the verse 109?
109. Which one? Can anybody recite that verse for me?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل إنما أنا
Kan. قل لو كان البحر
ولو كان البحر مدادا قل لو كان البحر مدادا لكلمات ربي لنفد البحر قبل أن تنفد كلمات ربي ولو جئنا بمثله مددا.
Yes. Thank you. Siapa? Megat Syabil. Thank you, brother. So this verse, which is أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قل لو كان البحر مدادا لكلمات ربي لنفد البحر قبل أن تنفد كلمات ربي ولو جئنا بمثله مددا. So in this verse of Al-Quran, when we think that we are the cleverest person in this world, the cleverest person in a class or something like that, you have to remind yourself about this verse of Al-Quran. When Allah mentioned that, say, if the sea were the ink for writing the words of my Lord, which is, if we think of the sea water as the ink that we can use to write Allah's knowledge or Allah's words or Allah's knowledge, we have to bear in mind that this sea would be exhausted before the words of Allah or before the knowledge of Allah were exhausted. Meaning that we can see that the seawater is very, it is almost 70% of this world, right? Seawater, if I'm not mistaken. Saya lupa, geografi belajar lama dah. Am I right? 70%?
Yes.
So 70% of the world, we use all these 70% of the world, the seawater, 70% of the world, but we can't finish Allah's knowledge, meaning that we can't really write everything that is there in Allah's knowledge. So when you think that you are the cleverest person in this world, remind yourself about this thing. Remind yourself about this verse of Al-Quran. So that you can think, you can reflect that yourself is not somebody that is clever, somebody that is not somebody that is the cleverest person in this earth, in this world, but it is only that you have been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a little bit of his knowledge. So but this little bit of his knowledge can be very useful for us, can be very useful for you to be a Khalifah in this world. Saya rasa macam saya dah panjang sangat dekat sini. We can proceed to the next slide. So next one. We have discussed about who is the Khalifah, who are they, and who are the person that can be called Khalifah. And we have discussed why we have been chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be the Khalifah. Now, the question is, how can we be the Khalifah? Or how can we practice this vicegerents in this world? Or how can we as students, to be specific, can reflect these characteristics of Khalifa in ourselves as a student, or maybe as a human being, or maybe as a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or maybe as a believers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his prophets. Anybody?
Can we do Amar Ma'ruf Nahi Munkar?
Amar Ma'ruf Nahi Munkar. Can you explain a little bit?
Do whatever Allah asks us to do, and don't do anything that Allah prohibit in our life.
Yes. Tapi saya cerita benda lain kat sini. How can we? So as a student kat sini, as a student, kita nampak dekat sini dalam ni, if you can see here in this picture, what can you see? We have, tak clear lah, guardian of knowledge and virtue, am I right? So
Yes.
how can we can practice this, what do we call that? Motto ke? I'm not really sure about this word, this term. The most important thing is that the guardian of knowledge and virtue tu lah. So how can we practice Khalifah? We can achieve them by practicing this, or by keep this verse or this phrase in our mind, guardian of knowledge and virtue, meaning that we have to have the knowledge and we have to have the virtue. Why? To lead the way. Nampak tak saya ni? So we have the guardian of knowledge and virtue. You have, as a student, you have to seek for knowledge. You have to really learn something new. You have to really strive for excellence in your specialized field. For example, you are specializing in human sciences, meaning that you have to really study in that field, so that you can be somebody in future who can benefit everybody in this world, or who can create a better future, or who can in your field. So that is the first thing that we we have to do, or that we can do to achieve, or to reflect, or to practice the vicegerency in ourselves as a student. That is the first thing. And then why I've mentioned about the guardian of knowledge and virtue, because with knowledge but without virtue, it is something that is kind of useless. Why did I say so? Do you understand what is meant by virtue, right?
Yes.
Okay, so with knowledge but without virtue, it is kind of something that is useless. Why? Why do you think so?
For me, to be able to practice a knowledge, you must have understanding that that knowledge itself, it has high value. So you must act virtuously towards the knowledge that you are learning about. Yeah.
Yes, because why? For me myself, I see that manners come first before the knowledge. Because why? In seeking for knowledge, you have to have the manners first. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. Why did I say so? Because in seeking for knowledge, there are few manners that you have to practice. The first one is the manners as a seeker of knowledge. And the number two is manners in seeking for knowledge. So there are two things that you have to practice during seeking for knowledge. So how come we have to make these two things apart? So that is why we have the guardian of knowledge and virtue. We use the word and. These two things have to be, you have to align these two things in your life. So that is why in order to be the vicegerent of Allah, in order to be the Khalifa in this world as per obligated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to have the manners first, and then after that you have to seek for knowledge. And once you have seek for knowledge, you can practice the knowledge that you have to create a better future, to create a better world in the future, or in future. And then the moment you have created these things, that is how you practice or reflect the roles of the vicegerent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is why I have put in this slide. The first one is the IIUM logo, which we have the guardian of knowledge and virtue, which is these two things are the most fundamental things that we have to that we must have in this that you must have in yourself to achieve something that we are going to do or to achieve in future, which is leading the way. Once you have knowledge, once you have virtue in your life, in yourself, what can you do is that to be the vicegerent of Allah. The aim of or the objective of be the vicegerent of Allah is to lead the way. So when we are talking about these things, we can see that our university itself is looking forward to have these kind of things or to instill these kind of things in students in students' life as well as in for the staff of this university. So that is why I'm talking about these things. How can we be the vicegerent of Allah? By having the knowledge, by having the virtue as well. Why? Because we want to lead the way. So because of that, we can see here the concept of leading the way in this picture. So we all of us already know how to seek for knowledge. Am I right?
Yes.
But most of us sometimes put virtue aside or put manners aside. So how can we or how can you as students remind yourself to not put virtue aside, but it must be aligned with knowledge? Yes, anybody?
Have a good niyat before we seek knowledge.
Yes, we have to have good niyat before we seek for knowledge. But we have to bear in mind first that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been sent to us in this world is to perfect our manners, which is there is a hadith reported by Abu Hurairah. إنما بعثت لأتمم مكارم الأخلاق. Verily, I have only been sent to perfect the righteous deeds or the righteous manners. So when we, as the believers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as well as the believers of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how can we believe in him, but we don't really do something that is advised by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? That is the first thing you have to bear in mind. You have to do something that is advised or that is that has been commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well as his prophets. So not only that, when we are talking about manners, you have to bear in mind that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the best example, is the best role model for us to have or to practice virtue or to practice manners. Because Aisha radiallahu anha, Prophet Muhammad's wife, when she described Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam characteristics or manners, she said that kana khuluqun Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam al-Quran. The character or the traits of the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was the Quran. So when we are doing something, when we are doing something in this world, in our life, in our daily life, we have to bear in mind that we are the believers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we are the believers of Prophet Muhammad. So why don't we follow what has Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned or teach us to do? So that is the first thing. How can we be the Khalifa in this world? We have we have the knowledge plus virtue, which is to lead the way. Next, how can we? Selain daripada knowledge and virtue, there is something else that our university is jap. Saya punya screen nampak ke tak?
Nampak.
Nampak kan? Which is the last one apa? Slide mana? Yang awak nampak?
Yang ada logo UEM.
Oh tak. Sebab dia dah cakap saya punya screen pause kejap Saya rasa saya kena share semula. Sebentar.
وعلم آدم الأسماء.
Sekarang nampak yang ni, yang SC4SH.
Nampak?
Okay, so how can we? So in line with what our universities is looking forward to do, I think you have been explained about what about Insan Sejahtera, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right?
Yes.
So how can we be the vicegerent of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala in this world? You can practice what our university is looking forward to create, which is the Insan Sejahtera. So we have once we have these Insan Sejahtera things, which is we will be responsible in creating something that will benefit everything that surrounds us. It doesn't only include the person or the people around us, but it also includes the other creatures that we have around us. So it is not only the neighborhood, but as well as the environment, or maybe the animals or something that we have around us. So that is how you can be, or you can practice to be a vicegerent of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala by practicing the characteristics of being an Insan Sejahtera student. So how can you do that? You have to be somebody that is very beneficial for the neighborhood, for example, as well as you can practice something that is very sustainable. So that is why when we are looking forward to do something, or when we are going to have a any programs from right now, we have to create or we have to develop that program, or to hold that program that has that can fit any of the sustainable development goals, if I'm not mistaken. So have you ever heard about sustainable development goals? The SDG.
Yes.
Yes.
Syamsul Haris, of course lah. Awak bukan presiden Econs ke? Anybody else yang lain? Semua pernah dengar pasal SDG? So one of the way that we can practice, or we can reflect our traits of our roles as the Khalifa, or as the vicegerents of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala in this world, is by doing something that is beneficial for our neighborhood, by doing something that align with the sustainable development goals. For example, I'm not saying that the sustainable development goals is something that we can follow in something like what can we call that? It is not something macam that is the Quran untuk buat benda ni lah. But somehow it helps us to create or to come up with the activities or the programs that can benefit the others by looking at these goals that we have in these sustainable development goals. For example, we have the zero hunger goals. We have the what else that we have there? We have the zero hunger. We have the education for all and something like that. So when we are talking about zero hunger, for example, we can be somebody that can provide some that can benefit the neighborhood by providing the things that they need in this at that time, as well as by education. For example, the other goal is the education for all, something like that. I'm not talking about these things for the nearest future. But I'm talking about this thing, or I'm discussing about this vicegerent of Allah. You are being the vicegerent of Allah in future, in future as well. Meaning that after you have completed your studies, after you have finished your studies, how can you be somebody that can reflect the roles of vicegerents, the roles of Khalifa in this world? Why? Because now you are studying in your field or in your specializations. So this thing have to start from now. You have to start from from now to achieve something in future. So that is why I'm talking about something that is near to you and something that you might think that, oh, this is not something that I'm going to do, but throughout the years you might think that these are some of the things that you are going to have, or that you are going to face in future. So next one is, what is our role? So we have discussed about what can we do. We have discussed how or why we have been chosen. So now, what is our role in being the vicegerent of Allah? I think someone has mentioned about Amar Ma'ruf Nahi Munkar.
Yes.
Okay. So this is one of the rules of vicegerents. وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Yes, Allah has mentioned that we as human are the best creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. But it doesn't mean that, as well as Allah has mentioned that we have been created to have the aqal, and Allah has taught us taught us things, or have been given us knowledge on things, but still this doesn't mean that everybody in this world will do something that is very good. That is why Allah mentioned in the Quran as well, ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس. So because of these things, because of these problems that we have in this world, that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that our role as a human being, as a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and as a Khalifa or as vicegerent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world, to do something, or to ask people to do something that is very good, and ask people not to do something that is prohibited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is why these things has been reminded to all of us weekly in khutbah. For those for the brothers lah, for the sisters, I don't know either you listen to the khutbah or not. You can before this, we have the what we call that live of Friday's khutbah in TV1. I don't know. I think it has been 2 years or more. I'm not watching television. Does TV1 still show this live khutbah Jumaat on Friday?
Yes.
Yes. Up until now?
Yes.
So if you watch this thing, you can see that in each khutbah, weekly, in every Friday khutbah, in the very beginning of the khutbah, there will be something like this thing, which is pasal ya'muruna bil ma'ruf wa yanhauna 'anil munkar, which the khatib remind us to not performing something that Allah has prohibited, and to perform something that Allah has commanded. So this is our role in this world, to ask people not to do something that Allah has commanded us to do, and to not doing something that Allah has prohibited. This is the first one. Next one, what is our rules other than that? So apart from having something like that, or teaching or asking people to not doing something that Allah has prohibited and something like that, I have mentioned earlier about the aim of having knowledge and virtue, which is to lead the way. The aim of being an Insan Sejahtera, which is this one. Khairun nas anfa'uhum linnas. What does this verse or this phrase means?
The best of people are the people who gives benefits to others.
Yes, the best of people is the people who give benefits to the others. So this is our roles as the Khalifa. We have to give benefits to others. We have to be someone that is beneficial to others. So thinking about these things, as a student right now, how can you do or how can you practice this role? Anybody?
I guess the simplest way is to teach what we have learned to others.
For example?
For example, if you are very knowledgeable in one of your studies, for example, in exams, you are better in the subject than the others. So you teach other people how to be better in those subjects so that they can ace the exams together.
Okay, my question. Thus, helping others during the examination is one of the things that we can practice to reflect this khairun nas anfa'uhum linnas.
As a student, maybe, yes.
I mean, like helping them during the exam.
Not during lah, before kot.
Yes, during the exam is not something that is permissible lah kan? Because exam is exam. When we are talking about examination, it means that you have to answer the questions by yourself. Because why? The purpose of having exam is to assess your understandings about that things. So when we are talking about khairun nas anfa'uhum linnas, it doesn't mean that you have to help people in each and every situation. You have to look into the situation first, either that situation is permissible or not. Because if you help something that is not permissible, it means that you have helped or you have done something that is bad. So because of that, you have to look into the situation first before helping the person. The example that the sisters have given us just now is one of the examples that you can do as a student in this university or as a student right now. Because, for example, the simplest way is that you can help your friends or you can help the classmates in doing things. For example, you can guide him or her to complete some things or to complete the exercises. I think helping others in completing exercises or in completing assignments, it is not something that is bad unless you do the things for him or her. For example, this one person, he faced problems in doing in completing his assignment. So he seeks for help from the other persons or the other classmates in his class. Then the other person helped him to do the things. I mean, like, it is not something that he completes the things by he completes his friend's assignment, but he assists his friends to complete the assignments. That is acceptable. But when we are talking about doing the assignments for his friends, I don't think that this kind of activity or these kinds of help includes in this khairun nas anfa'uhum linnas. Am I clear?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, okay. Any other examples of khairun nas anfa'uhum linnas? We have talked about the examples of you and your friends. What about you yourself right now as a student? How can you benefit the society, for example? Or maybe your family? Yes.
Give sedekah to those needy people.
Give sadaqah to those needy people. What else? if sadaqah is one of the examples, I think one of the examples is, or one of the ways you can reflect this rule is that by joining any societies that we have in this university, for example. Because why? Once you join any societies, especially those something like community service based punya society, you can you are going to have, or you are going to hold programs that relate with the that can benefit or that can serve the community or the neighborhoods that surrounds you. So from these programs or from these activities, somehow you can be someone that is very beneficial for the others, not only to your not only to your friends, not only to your classmates, not only to your teachers or to your lecturers, but to somebody that is not um what can we call it? Somebody that is not your family, or not somebody that is not your family. For example, we have these few societies that really that will hold programs for the community, something like community services, or that will hold the program that will benefit the neighborhoods. So somehow, this is how you can serve the community, you can serve the neighborhood, and reflects the rules of the vicegerent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and reflects the khairun nas anfa'uhum linnas. So when we are talking about when we are talking about the examples of being a beneficial, or being somebody that can benefit the society, or somebody that can benefit the neighborhood, or somebody that can benefit the others, we have to think something that is realistic. That is realistic. It is not something that is idealistic. Why? Sometimes when we think about something, we tend to think something idealistically, meaning that you think that this thing is the best thing that we can do. This thing is the best thing that we can come up with. This is the best thing that the society needs. This is the best thing that that we can have up until now. But don't have you thought about the implementation of the activities that you have that you have taught earlier? So that is why I'm talking about something. That is why I've mentioned earlier that you have to think of something that is very realistic, that you can that can be implemented by yourself. So how can you come up with something that is very realistic? It is that you have to look into your situation. You have to look into yourself first. Either are you capable of doing that things? Are you able to complete this task? Are you able to manage your times between your studies and these programs? Are you able to or are you capable to have these things implemented in the period, in the given period, or in the allocated times? So that is how you have to that is how you can come up with some things that will benefit the others. So you have to bear in mind this phrase, khairun nas anfa'uhum linnas, so that you can come up with you can practice these characteristics of vicegerents of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I think this is the last one. So the expectation. So once we are talking about these things, when we have discussed about these the vicegerent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have the expectation. We have to have the aims or the objectives of discussing these things, which is to, yes, that is why garden lagi, tak having a garden. Knowledge plus virtue, the aim of the objective is to lead the way. So before we lead the way, or before we lead the world, the first thing first that you have to bear in mind, or that you have to remind yourself, is that you have to be the Khalifa of yourself first. Why? You have to improve yourself first, so that you can improve and help others. Somebody or someone who can't really control himself or herself can't really distribute lah. can't really provide or serve the community. So that is the most fundamental thing that you have to bear in mind. We have discussed everything about helping others, serving for the others, giving benefits to the others, but all of these things will only can only be achieved by by being the Khalifa for ourselves first. Having said that you have to be the Khalifa of yourself first, it doesn't mean that you have to be a selfish person, meaning that you can't really wait you can't really wait until yourself become a very perfect one, because nobody is perfect in this world. So how can you be the Khalifa of yourself, or how can you change yourself or improve yourself, is that by joining yourself into these things in giving benefits to the others. Because throughout these activities, throughout these things or these programs, you can learn something that you can't really learn in classes. You can learn something that you can't get by not joining or by not participating in any kind of activities that is that involve different kind of person or different level of persons in terms of age or something like that. So for the sake of having or practicing the characteristics of vicegerent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to be the Khalifa for yourself first, and then after that you can serve the community and you can help the others so that you can benefit the others. I think that is all from me for today. Is there any questions before we pass the session to Brother Fahmi once again? The afternoon session, especially at this time, I think everyone is already hungry. Yeah, is there any question?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
Regarding the ayat وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا, I was just wondering what names were being taught to Prophet Adam alayhi salam.
Oh, what names have been taught? As per I have read earlier about the asma here, meaning the word asma, yes, it means names, but it means that everything everything in this world, it has its very own name. So when Allah thought about something, the names here refers to something. I mean, like this is the animal, so Allah Prophet Adam will know that, oh, this is an animal, and this is the world, so this is the world. Names here doesn't mean the names that we understand as name it is, meaning that it is not Fahmi, it is not Izzah Shahira, it is not Shamsul Haris, or it is not Amanina Husaini. Am I answering your question? So it means everything.
It means everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
As per I read earlier.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other question? If there is no more questions, then I think I'll pass the session to Brother Fahmi once again, and thank you everyone. If there is anything that I've mentioned earlier, or you have something that you want to share with me later, then you can come to me later. So I think that is all from me for today. Thank you, and I'll pass the session to Brother Fahmi. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ustaz Hakimi, for the enlightening speech. So before we are going to a break, let us take some pictures with Ustaz Ismail. Everyone in the meeting may open their camera. Right, so I'll be taking in count of 1, 2, 3. Right. Two, three. Two. And all right. Thank you for the cooperation, and thank you for Ustaz Hakimi for giving the speech. So the floor is now will be a break. We will meet you again at 1:50 p.m. for the third session, which is Mau'izatul Hasanah by Ustazah Nur Shazli binti Tuamada. And the MC, I will pass to Sister I pass to the Sister Hasna in the next session. All right. That's all, everyone. So we will close the second session with Tasbih Kafarah and Suratul As. All right. Thank you very much, everyone.